चाहिँ philosophy of legal professionalism with reference to clinical legal education and broader perspective of SAR and also the status of legal professionalism in South Asia. So अबको समय आदरणीय युवराजलाई इन्भाइट गर्न चाहन्छु. धन्यवाद सर.
Reflected a little bit on the legal profession that our part of the world was there, and it was quite different to the legal professions that we have been talking today. The main reason is that the present legal profession that we work with was transplanted in South Asia by British colonial ruler, especially after 1830. So in the paper that you will read later on, what I have said is like historically, legal profession in all societies enjoyed a great respect, both in the oriental part of the society and the western part of the society. Legal profession enjoyed a very good respect. It was a very honorable profession, and it is the longest profession in the history. It is the longest and continuous profession without any interruption from the very beginning of the pre-modern and the modern civilization. This profession is very much impacting the society. In 19th century, lawyers in UK and USA were treated as icons or role models of the emerging democratic society. Lawyers exploiting their positive and elitist image had been able to register their strong presence in politics and state affairs. The Western model of legal profession entered in South Asia with colonial rule. With it came the system of legal education. New institutions of legal education were established and production of lawyers was formally introduced. The legal professional in South Asian continent during the colonial regime entertained the same images in its Western counterparts. Most elite families were attracted to legal education, therefore. So one thing I already said, this profession historically commanded a big respect. The second thing I said to you is like this is historically extended from the very beginning of the emergence of this present civilization, both in East and West. Mostly in the European continent, after Enlightenment or Renaissance, lawyers were taken as icons of the society. So, politicians, the best politicians came from legal profession. Best civil society member also came from legal profession. Very good philosopher often emphasize the need of educating themselves. So most philosophers first thought to join the legal profession. And big professionals, like big bureaucrats in the society also had root in the legal profession. Judges and lawyers definitely came from the legal profession. So this was very interesting phenomenon. So most of the good people, therefore, if you see the history, most powerful people who made a big contribution in the change of the society, who played a very crucial role in shaping and reshaping the structure of the society, whether it be in post-colonial revolution in Asia or in the Western countries, both Europe and America. Abraham Lincoln was a lawyer. Okay? Kennedy was a lawyer. Most powerful prime ministers in the UK, they came from the legal background, both in the modern time and also during the 19th and 20th century. If you see all the European continent, whether they are liberal or communist politicians, they always came from legal profession. The reason was that society itself considered lawyer as the iconic figure in the society. So they were recognized as the most important people in the society. So instead of politicians going to legal profession, people became lawyer, and once they became lawyer, they became attracted to the politics. So it was much more easier for lawyers to be a successful politician, to be a civil society member, even I said philosopher, travelers and all. Okay? So therefore, historically legal profession commands a big respect. Historically legal profession also has contributed very significantly in shaping and reshaping the society. Most vital revolution in the world have been spearheaded by lawyers. Most controversial revolution in the world, the French Revolution, which was headed by Robespierre, he was a lawyer. So being a lawyer, he was chosen as the leader because he could speak extensively, he could speak logic, and he had a power to persuade the people. So, why lawyer become iconic? You need to go a little bit behind the region. One, they were good speaker. Second, they always use logic. So that sounded very plausible, and then people believed it. So, how can we look into the reality in the past is that legal profession made a very benign start. Legal profession made a very positive initiation. Legal profession started with great respect of the people. Legal profession contributed in the society for revolution, for shaping the society, developing a cohesion in the society, and also restructuring the society. So their function was multiple. So that's one of the reasons, like when people treated lawyer as a iconic figure, that means they always put forward a big respect to lawyer. Situation, however, changed drastically, especially in the late 20th, and that change is still continuously going on in the 21st century. The image of lawyers in the contemporary era, especially after 1950s, is however facing a great challenge. Russell J. Pierce, an associate professor of law at Fordham University Law School, in his article Teaching Legal Ethics Seriously, daringly opens, society's respect for lawyer has dropped during the past 20 years, far more than society's respect for comparable other occupations. His assertion has been corroborated by the public poll of the American Bar Association, which reveals that only 22% of the American public consider community of American lawyers as honest and ethical. Earlier in 1977, 36% of the people of America viewed that legal profession in their society was respectable. So over the last 30 years, we can say now, legal profession is sliding down to the bottom. In 1977, 36% American in the poll said that American lawyers are honest. It is itself a very small proportion. So what this poll identified was like the doctors were treated much more respectable in American society. Similarly, journalists, chartered accountant, and other professionals, they were far up in the comparison than lawyers themselves. Okay, so that slided down to the 22% after 1977. That means within a very short period of time, the fall down of the image of the lawyer in the American society, which has the largest population of lawyers in the world, and most richest lawyer you find in the you find in United States of America. So the trust of the American people slided down. It fell down remarkably. Then another poll in 1997 by the American Bar Association again. The profile of lawyer further reduced down to 17%. from 22%. So it was 36% in 1977. By the time 1977, it reduced down to 22%. And it is latest poll, some years before, finds that only 11% of American public has a trust over the legal professionals. They believe that American lawyers are honest. Okay? Sure. Remarkably, even politicians have been respected much more by American people than lawyers. So, American politicians have been actually hated by the public. They have been considered as power mongers. They have been exploiters, and they are considered money-making machines. But if you compare lawyers with the politicians, the state of politicians or the prestige of politicians a bit higher to the legal profession. So this era, especially in the western part of the world, lawyers' position is really considered as a profession, somehow a kind of anti-social profession. Why this happened? This was very interesting. There are a couple of reasons. These reasons have been identified by this poll and several other studies. If you study, you find hundreds of thousands of articles written by professors in many parts of the world concerning legal profession. So if you read all this paper, basically you find a couple of very important reasons why the profession of lawyers became much more controversial and became much more less respected by the people. The reason one is, for example, if you take the situation in Asia, a lawyer raped his disabled female client in his office. The type of crime, the type of violence lawyers have been engaged. So even a disabled client was raped by a lawyer. One instance, a lawyer got his client sign in a document consenting to sell his property in a low price. So this morning also, there was some discussions like how lawyers behave. So often, in a society like ours, and not only society like ours, but even in America, okay, they practice some type of behavior which equivalent to misconduct, and then by promising or putting their client into a trap, what they do is like they even get their property in the lower price. Okay? Because sometimes people do not have option. If your husband is in jail, the husband's life would be much more important for you than your property. So at that time, the lawyer might argue with you, okay, if you sell your property, if you sell your house to me, and there might be lawyers already having connections with the multinational corporations or the big real estate agents, so they might offer bigger price of this land to the lawyer. So what they do is like, if you sell this property to me or to someone, which I suggest, I will work hard and get your husband released. So in this kind of situation, they tend to surrender. A lawyer had collected a huge contingent of fee from the client and intentionally delaying the case so that he could generate interest from the bank deposit. So sometimes what happens is like the fee that you charge to the lawyers with the volume, with the amount of the case that you are going to represent is very huge. So what you do is like you demand 10 million rupees in advance. And what you do, and you put that amount in your bank. So what you do is like intentionally you delay the case proceeding. Because what is your interest is that it's as much delay the case takes place, more interest that you can accrue. Okay? So that's how lawyer became controversial. Similarly, a lawyer had advised the minister to commit an act of corruption. So in one case, a lawyer suggested a minister how he could safely corrupt the government fundings. So these are the instances, some representative instances that you find in every society. If you go to Bangladesh, they will be talking the similar stories. You go to America, they will be telling the similar stories. The similar stories that you find in Nepalese society, and probably you encounter some of these examples even when you were discussing with the lawyers. India, phenomenally this problem is there. In Pakistan, in Singapore, in Malaysia, and every part of the world. And these reasons were the most important factors, okay, that contributed in sliding down the image of the lawyer. So, what is very interesting then was that this profession in the past used to be an iconic profession. This profession in the past was considered as one of the most important profession, and most important people always prefer to go and become a lawyer. But now, what is the situation? The situation is reversed. The situation is reversed because the profession has become very controversial. Why this profession has become controversial? The reason that I described to you. Lawyers are doing every those things which lawyers are not supposed to do. Therefore, the public image or the public respect to the legal profession has come down to seriously low profile, and therefore lawyers are not trusted. Therefore, this morning I told you the joke, okay? The joke of a burglar husband. So the women proudly accepted that yes, her husband is a burglar, and she didn't mind it. She didn't mind having her husband to be a burglar, because there was no options but her to marry that man. Because had not she been able to marry the burglar, what she should have done? She should have married a lawyer, and the guy would have been for the bad. So this is a kind of situation. So you are in a very contentious profession today. Why this seminar that we have been doing? We need to explore these kind of problems. We need to reshape the legal profession. And why Nepal? In Nepal, we have been emphasizing debate of ethics too much, because legal profession in Nepal is still far better to compare with legal profession in Bangladesh, legal profession in India, legal profession in some other countries. So this is still a better profession, because the system of Bar Council is better than in South Asia. So we have the Bar Council exam, which is far better than other countries in South Asia. The number of lawyers is still not big. The real practicing lawyer is not a huge community still. So they are not necessary person in the society to take the society from this way to that way. So this profession still has not achieved a status to influence the politician. Had we been able to influence the politician, might be we would have made a better constitution. We would have made a better situation today. But since the number is still smaller, the quality is still not very high, and it is still in a formative stage, that our role in shaping the constitution was not very prominent. So this is an advantage in itself, because in this stage, if you have a positive intervention, the chance of reforming and making this profession is larger than other countries. Because in India, almost 500,000 lawyers are there, and this is a big community. In Bangladesh, almost 100,000 lawyers. In Pakistan, more than 100,000 lawyers. Even in Sri Lanka, the population is bigger to 50,000. Okay? So this profession in Nepal, both because of certain reformatory practices that we introduced quite early, we introduced the Bar Council examination. Bar Council examination is not a formality, it's a very tough examination. Still it is liberal, that's true, but at least it is better to what India is practicing. So this morning that you saw, you had a chance to hear to Mr. Ravi Vyas, who says that it is an objective examination. You look the book and you pretend to appearing in the bar exam. But here, it is difficult for many students. And even students from Kathmandu School of Law, certain proportion fail every year, despite our 1 month long training, and also Bar Council examination training conducted by different institutions out of the college. Despite that, some people still fail. So that means what we can say is that situation in Nepal is better. But despite that better situation, sometimes what we say is like it is the most worthless profession in Nepal. Now then you can compare what is the situation in India. If you see sometimes cinema, what you see? In front of the court, there are a number of lawyers in the road with a typewriter preparing documents, and exactly they sell their service like a fisherman does in a fisher market. At least that bad image is not here in Nepal. So legal profession is one of the biggest profession in terms of number across the board. Far bigger to doctors, engineers. The number of education institutions involved in production of lawyers is considerably bigger too. In India alone, there are 1,000 plus law colleges, faculties of law, and law universities. They are offering course in law. There are over 1,000 legal educational institutions in China. Reportedly, 60,000 students enroll every year for legal education in India. 60,000. Collectively, every year, over 100,000 students go to law schools in South Asia, considering legal profession as a lucrative profession. My experience of being teaching law for 2 decades suggests that a large number of students in law college step in with mythical aspiration of becoming a noble person. Many of you probably come to legal profession not to be a professional, but to be a noble person. Okay? So many of you, when interviewed during the entrance exam, 70 or over 70% said that I want to do service in the society. I'm going to fight a case for the poor people. I saw that my relatives were badly treated by their husbands, so I want to fight a lot. I want to fight with that kind of injustice. So that's how bad pictures that you paint in the wall of the buildings. Because what you have in the mind is like this society is worse, this society is useless. So you're going to be the rescuer. So you're going to be the Krishnaji or Christ to rescue this society. Okay. So one type of students are like that. Second type of student that I saw was like a large number of them get in for a hope of earning huge money with less risks and without much investment. So another category of people who come to legal education is the type of the people who want to make an easy money without investment and in a very short period of time. So you want to be rich in a very quick period of time. Okay? So some of you already have taken loan probably to go to Florida, to go to Hong Kong, to participate in the moot court competition, thinking that after 4 years you will earn a couple of 100,000 a year. Okay? So that's a kind of thing. Easy money, no investment. Okay? Money comes like a stray mango trees in the forest. Like everybody can go and pluck the mangoes. Third category of the students that I found is like a large number of students come in to step in their parents' profession. So many of them come not for their choice, but what they think is like, since my father is there, my mother is there, okay? So that's an influence of the parents directly or indirectly. One, there is a vested interest with some children of the lawyers because my father's law firm, his books, his cases would be boon for me. That is second. The third, what they think is like, if I go to legal education, then at least my father can guide to me. So I should not be going and running behind somebody else. So the day that I pass out the law school, I start making the money. So that's why. But there is another group also. A large number of lawyers' children do not want to come to legal education because their parents will force them to work with them. So what they think is that the personal liberty would be then gone. They will not allow us to open our own law firm, but then they will make to work, and then we have to survive with the money the parents give. Okay? So that's how. Some will not come, but a lot of will come also from that. So that's a number also. Some students volunteer with a greater sense of working for the benefit of larger section of the society. Okay, that's also there. So it is to some extent benevolent. It is to some extent philanthropic. Yes, there are some students who want to shape the change of the society. They are there. But how many of them will do such kind of thing? I don't know. I have not done any study with this regard. But very few students get in for the purpose of becoming a friend of justice in a society like India, where regressive status quo is a prime character. The very few number of students, and I often fail to find out who they are in that class. So that's my miserable failure over the last many years. There is certain number of students, yes, who have come into the legal profession or the legal education with the sense that they have to fight against this injustice their society has. So they come to prepare themselves as engineers for changing the society. They want to be the voice of the society. They want to be the voice of the unheard people. So they put all their efforts to shape themselves as one of the best person. So their emphasis always is not to be a good lawyer, but to be a good person. So one of the reasons that I suggested these people to invite Ram Saran Pokhran, come and talk to you. So in this college, this man is a man who I always give an example. I always talk about him, whether it in class or in the outside. His father was a police inspector, a simple job. His father had not very big salary as a police inspector in those days. Many of you know that. But he had to educate 3 children. So he came here in law school. He had another son in a medical education, got a scholarship, but still he had to support his food, he had to support his clothing, he had to support his room rent and many other things. And his daughter also came to be a lawyer in this college. His mother was not educated woman, so she stayed home, but they had 2 cows raised in a small place, so they used to sell milk. So the inspector's salary and the cow's milk together would create the subsistence for them. There is no other options but them to pass and then change that situation and bring the family to a better situation and also contribute to the development. Sure. My drivers used to say that time, they had to reserve the first seat for him. If he didn't get the first seat in Maharajganj, he used to be angry, because the moment he entered the bus, then he opened the book, then he came reading the book here. So when there was a gap, he was in the library. In the class, he made very good question. Saturday, the whole day, he used to come and stay in the library, in the classroom studying. So he always spent time with the teacher. If there was a free time, he went to the teacher's room and then discussed. From the very first year, he topped the class. He made a gold medal. In the LLM also, he made the gold medal. He passed the deputy director's examination in Rashtra Bank. And from the very beginning, he entered Rashtra Bank. He was given an independent authority to head the section. It was a big challenge. Then he started running to the teachers again. So now he matures himself as a very important professional. Okay. So I have seen it's about 12 such kind of students who now have made a very proficient profession. Second was Saroj Regmi. Similarly, don't take it otherwise, Swetcha herself is one of the best students that I always regard. Yugitsa was very intelligent, but she was less active. But Swetcha was also a volunteer to instigate others to read. So Yugitsa studied hard. Aruna Joshi, another best student, so she became a section officers, and she is playing a vital role in law ministry. Actually, when she is not in the ministry, a lot of works will be stopped. Pooja Khatri was another. Pravin Subedi was another. So these people made their profession a best profession. These people gained recognition within a short period of time. And these people are today changing the society by the way. But what about these almost 2,500 students that we handled over the last many years? The reason is that many of them did not come to educate themselves with a greater sense of fighting against injustice. Either you came to be a noble person, or you came to be somehow influenced by your families with a legal professional background. Some of you came because there was no other options for you. Some of you came just for the sake of win. So how do you develop yourself? That's your choice. That's your choice. So this is probably one of the reasons very few people are entering into legal education with a greater sense of social injustice. Going back to the legal profession, they have been responsible to commit misconducts. They have been responsible to deteriorate the iconic position of the legal professionals in the past, and they have been responsible to exploit the image of the law. That is my experience over the last 31 years. Why do we do this seminar therefore? To inspire and multiply the number of that fifth category that I described to you, who come to legal education with a sense of greater sense of fighting against injustice. Even if they have not entered that way, to inspire them to multiply and make them a bigger number so that the type of the society that we have today can be better facilitated in the way of better change in the society. Okay, so with this, you can read this article fully. Let me go for some contemporary pressing problem of the legal professionals. What are the pressing problems that we encounter at this point? Very importantly, today, the concerns about increasing trend of legal profession being transformed into a business are mounting. Most important thing, from this very beginning, today, the discussion is spearheaded towards to believe that this is a profession oriented to service. This is a service-oriented profession. So to some extent, it's a philanthropic profession. So what type of people come to educate themselves in law and become a lawyer? I already told you the fifth category of lawyers who fight with the greater sense of fighting against injustice. So that's a philanthropy. I'm not talking about lawyers should not make money. Don't think that way. I am not suggesting that lawyers should not make money. Lawyer can make a money even fighting for injustice. But the question is like, how do you fight against injustice is an issue. You apply the methods of rational choice or justifiable choice of yours, or you make the method which is itself is tending to be a misconduct. How do you fight against the injustice? A man who is innocent in a jail. You study hard, you reveal the fact, you do intensive research, you collect the evidence, you find out the better proof, and then you argue in the court and you defend the liberty of your person, or you get little more money, you bribe the clerk, you bribe the judge, and you bribe the prosecutor, and you defend the liberty of that person. So there are two things. The person is innocent, yes, there is no question. Definitely. But your method, did you apply a rational method or just method or irrational or unjust method? A lawyer who comes to become a lawyer with the greater sense of injustice, applies a rational method. He works hard, she works hard, conducts intensive investigation, conducts intensive research, and goes to court prepared with extensive, plausible, and high arguments to convince the judge. This is one way of fighting against injustice. But instead of doing that, you go to a beer park every day, you drink a lot of beer, you squeeze the money from the client, and then you take the money from the client to bribe the judge, bribe the clerk, bribe the prosecutor, and you get the person. What is the difference? You defended an innocent. Yes, you defended an innocent, definitely. But in the first instance, there is no chance of yourself getting and convicted of murderer or a criminal or felon to get out of the notice of the justice. But in the second, he might be, she might be innocent, or he might be, or she might be a criminal. So in the second case, you might bring the criminal out, or you might bring the innocent both. But in the first instance, you have no chance of bringing a criminal out of the notice of the justice. Who only can bring out of the justice is the person who was wrongly arrested, wrongly investigated, an innocent person. So, a lawyer who does that is a good person first and the good lawyer later on. But the lawyer you do in the another instance is a good lawyer but a bad guy. So this is how situation is deteriorating, I said. But why I said is like, it is because the sense of service is disappearing in the legal profession and it is increasingly becoming a business to it. Okay, so shifting paradigm from service to business is one of the major reasons attracting those kind of people coming into legal profession and coming into legal education who want to make money in a quicker period of time, and he or she want to buy all privileges of the world and enjoy the life in a better way. Okay, so the emergence of the corporate law firms is phenomenal. If you see in America, see in India, see in China, Singapore, all the developed countries, the corporate law firms are mushrooming. One law firm often has 200, 300 lawyers. Most importantly, these law firms have not been generally run by the lawyers themselves. It is the multinational corporation firms, these law firms. So who is the owner of this law firm? A lawyer, but a businessman. He has put a huge money in it. And what does it do? What does he do is like, they advertise for the appointment of lawyer. They pay according to the capacity of the lawyer. So all these 300 lawyers are the staff of that law firm, which is owned by a businessman. So when businessman comes in as a business person in the legal profession and he invests money as a corporate law firm, definitely he has not been there for the service. He has been there for the business. So what does it do then? He pays less salary to lawyer, he charges bigger money to client, and he squeezes money from the client, pays the salary of the lawyer, and the vast amount of money is profited by the businessman. So this is how philanthropic nature of lawyer is disappearing. This is another reason. The corporate law firms take law practice as a business and opine that anything acceptable in the business is acceptable in the law practice too. If you can advertise for profiting, you can advertise. So American legal profession allows you to advertise. So you can take the profit, you can buy the share, you can do whatever a corporate body can do. A lawyer's firm, the corporate lawyer firm, being an enterprise instead of an intellectual base of argument, is involved in business. So this law firm may have multiple professions. One represents the client, another purchases the share, third, it can invest in the hydroelectricity project, it can also it can also invest the money from all the firms, so therefore profit is multiplied. And these lawyers therefore are used to protect those firms where the money of this law firm is put into. Suppose that this firm has purchased millions of cost of shares, and if that bank is in a problem, who goes to defend this bank? This law firm. And they do represent this law firm in any case. So they do anything. They tamper the evidence, they create fake evidence, they cook facts, and somehow they make the bank win the case. They even might bribe the court. Okay, so therefore, legal profession is tainting to be a very bad profession. So decline in professional courtesy, the lack of commitment to one's professional duties, and the way lawyers manipulate the legal system without any concern for right and wrong are also serious concern facing the legal profession. Therefore, they do anything to manipulate the legal profession, legal system of the country. When there is a law being made in parliament, what they do? They lobby in the parliament. And they create a legislative act favoring what they intend. For example, in the United States, the jail is privatized. It's a company. Okay? A jail is not only run by the government. A jail is run by a private company. So a lot of people have been jailed inside it by the inmates or the prisoners sent by the government to this jail. So how much they charge is $100 for 1 day. A prisoner put into private jail, the government pays $100 for one prisoner a day. So what this company looks for? More prisoners. Okay? More prisoners come in the private jail. So this is like a hotel. More clients you get, hotel makes profit. So what this jail, how this jail will make benefit? Profit. More prisoners it gets, it makes the profit. So what the law will be? Imprisonment every kind of crime. So even children have been there for imprisonment. Because more imprisonment, more prisoners means more money. So what kind of law you should make then? You should make the law which prescribes imprisonment as a general punishment. So more people are imprisoned, more people will procure, more clients will be procured, more clients will not be able to be put into the government jails, and they will be sent to the private. So these people, these private jail runners, raise a huge amount of money and they bribe the members of the parliament. So the member of the parliament pass the law in a way they want. So when a new law comes, this law, instead of becoming liberal to the offenders and devising a scheme of reforming, what they devise, what these acts devise is the compulsory imprisonment, therefore person will go to the jail. Okay, so this is how a huge number of lawyers have been engaged in manipulating the legal system. The situation of European Union is for the worse. You know what is very interesting in European Union? The spoon. What is a spoon? That you eat soup, vegetables and rice. And toilet. Do you know what is toilet? You go and sit. There are 19 laws. How much? 19 laws how to use toilet. Why? Because more law is created, that creates business for lawyer. So when life is made sophisticated, when life is made complex, ordinary citizen fails to procure the service from the government. When tax system is made very sophisticated, you cannot go and submit your tax return. So you have to hire a lawyer. Without lawyer, you can do nothing. How intelligent were British in India? They brought judges from United Kingdom, and the British lawyers, British judges were working in the Indian courts. So what was the language? English. Literacy in India was below 10%. Nobody understood English. So lawyers argued in English. The client did not understand anything, like the crocs outside. Do I understand? Whether it is saying that I love you or I hate you? So it's exactly like that. Client does not understand anything. Lawyer speaks in English, judge writes judgment in English, and this judgment goes to the hand of the client. He reads nothing. So every time when he or she need to learn about the judgment, what he or she has to do? Go to lawyer. That means every time the poor client goes to the lawyer, he or she has to pay the money. So this is the situation. So this is how legal profession's role in manipulating the legal system and manipulating the judicial system became phenomenal in post 1950, and that continues even today. So this is how we own a very bad name. The problem facing the legal profession today are not existing. If I ask you to collect the problems of legal profession today from the first year to fifth year, you still will be collecting more problems, but they will not be exhausted. So we can think about giving a degree for the students. For 5 years, they will go to the court and find out some problems, deposit those problems every day in the law schools, and 5 years we can give them degree. That's possible. Their training and culture of thinking developed by prevailing legal education systems are crucial in defining the image of legal profession. So where does this defiling actually begins? From the legal education system. So in the United States, legal education is the most expensive education. In the university, I was there in 1996 in Georgetown. Per semester, fee was $18,000 US. So you can imagine, 8 semesters. How many money a student deposited in the law school? 18 into 8. And this is not possible for everybody to offer that fee. If you go to Harvard, Oxford, for example, if you want to complete 1 year master degree in Oxford, you have to pay 43 lakhs each. How much? The same is in Harvard. So legal education is the most expensive education in the world, especially in the western part of the country. So that's why this education that you have been pursuing is valueless for you, because you don't have to pay the fee. So it doesn't mean to you anything. The same education you gain, no better lecture is given in Oxford and Harvard than what we give to you. The same lecture. They use the same book and we use the same book. You read the same book. But you graduate in almost 500,000 in 5 years. How much they pay? 43 lakhs Nepalese in 1 year. Okay? So what happens because of this fee? Does a student try to become a service provider? What is the medical education in Nepal today? When you have to pay 76 lakhs for MBBS, will you provide service to the patients when they come to you? You squeeze the money, you even steal the blood. So that's exactly what is the problem. So legal profession became worst profession, not because of the profession itself, but because of the education system. Commercialization of the education system. Commercialization of the education system brought defiling of the image of the legal profession. So, unfortunately, they failed to articulate what is that. And what we often say is like, in the law school, what we often say is that you should behave like a lawyer and you should think like a lawyer. I told you over 100 times. You have to think like a lawyer. But legal education never says what is that lawyers thinks like. हामी भन्छौं के विद्यार्थीले वकिलले जस्तै सोच्नुपर्छ तर हामी कहिले पनि के भन्दैनौँ वकिलले कस्तो सोच्छ okay so that's where we are failing but we let you go to villages we let you go to see the poor people in the village we let you go and see an old woman struggling for their life we let you go and how community forestry is destroyed we let you go and see how education system has been spoiled we let you go and how government is charging the poor people to see it and to think like a lawyer. But unfortunately, you don't think that way. What you think going over there is that it's a fun. It's a tourism. Okay? It's a best fun making. That's what you take. So going over there, you never think. You rather see and you enjoy. Because it is so enjoyable for you, for a 70-year-old lady coming with a big sack on her back, and it makes you a kind of fun. Oh my God, see that lady is coming with a big burden on her back. And what you do? Click, 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 click. And then you put into Facebook. Neither you are merciful or sympathetic or empathetic when you are making that picture, nor you are empathetic when you put it into Facebook. But rather you make it a matter of fun. And what you write in the status, see what this old woman is doing. Oh my God, okay? That's what you write. So we are trying to make you think like a lawyer, and at least Kathmandu School of Law is very clear about what lawyers should think about. We're telling you, we are letting you to observe, and we are letting you to exercise. But still then, there is no thinking like a lawyer. So it is a hopeless situation in United States because no United States educational institutions say what all lawyers should think like. Okay? So often the prevailing legal education is suffering from problems of one, insulating the teaching and learning methods. So students have been put into a classroom and the lecturer or the professor comes, he lectures you. He tries to instill his idea in your mind. And what he or she often claims is like what he thought or she thought is the only truth. Okay? That's what they make you to think. But the people like me, we come here and ask the question. The miserable situation is like nobody asked the question. Even before the session, Mr. Pokhrel was asking any question. None of you had a question because you don't think. I think it's a rule that when somebody speaks, the capacity of human brain is that only 36% of the total what it said is captured. Rest of the is not. Then you claim that you understand everything. You don't ask the question because you are not prepared to be critical. You are not prepared to be thinking in a way the lawyers needs to think. You are not prepared to prepare yourself what you're supposed to be. So that's a question. So this is very interesting. Second, so legal education system is insulated. That's what I said. Second, emphasizing the mechanical oratory school development syndrome. We always teach you to develop your oratory skill. And why we often say is that lawyers are those people in the world who vomit fire. Okay? What we say? Okile ago chacha. Okay? So we always encourage you, and you're also very much enthusiastic to be hard speaker rather than hard intelligent and hard critical thinker. So all law schools prefer how to make their students a best orator rather than a best intellectual. Some students do not speak, writes very well. What would be the judgment of law professor? Oh, this boy is a thug. He does nothing in the life. He speaks nothing. That's what we say. But a chattu, or like a suga, who all the time speaks and gives a very big speech, okay, uses a very decorative words, uses a lot of adjectives, and then has a skill of making up and down voice, using pitches, and then using slangs and make the speech almost incomprehensible, everybody will say that, my God, his speech. That's what, and you are trying to learn that. So that's one of the reasons, we are making our students to involve in a lot of research, but that's where our biggest failure. When we give you research, you don't do the research. You just copy, paste, and even if you write a report, you don't make a very good presentation. Okay? Even this is presented, then there is nothing but others words, others sentences that cannot be published. So ultimately, the research also very significantly and very unfortunately fails. Third, encouraging the development of parochialism by promoting profit for private motive of attorney. We always talk about fee. We always encourage, and you would be very much encouraged, you would be very enthusiastic if we say that there is a lot of money in the legal profession. Don't be afraid. Okay? Huge amount of money. And if I say that in 10 years, from the day of your start of the legal profession, you will have a Pajero car, you will be further encouraged. Okay? More money we talk, you become interested. But more prestige, more role of a lawyer, more hard struggle to change the society, to help the poor. We talk about, many of you, after some time, you stop participating in the seminar. So, what happens after third year? Until third year, when there is a very good professor comes to KSL and gives a lecture, everybody is there. From the fourth year, nobody comes. They hate listening lecture. They don't want to prepare themselves because what they think is like what is they have in the mind is enough for them. Fourth, the complicating the definition of social justice and law's role of social engineering. More and more, what we do is like we complicate the meaning of the social justice. What do we mean by social justice? And most of the lawyers would never represent pro bono case. Number of lawyers would never speak in favor of the people. They always busy in Malpop. They busy always arguing cases in the money. But when there is a bar day, when there is a human rights day, and then they start vomiting towards that legal profession with the social engineer, they have done nothing, not a single act for the change of the society. But what they claim? They claim that they are social engineers. They are not. They are actually business people. If a lawyer is social engineer, why doctor is not social engineer? Why the member of the commerce, what is that called, Chamber of Commerce and the FNCCI, why they are not social engineer? If that's true, King Ganendra is the biggest social engineer because he keeps going to many parts of the country, worships in the temple, puts money over there, and if he finds some poor people, he gives the money. He gives money to the poor people, and he organizes the grandson's Bartabanda, inviting 5,000 people. How many people got a chance to have a food? And they said 5,000 people said the money cooking food at that one. Is not that a social engineering? It's the biggest social engineering. And most importantly, you have been taking hard time to come from the home to KSL. Is not itself is social engineering? It's the biggest social engineering that we have been doing. So this is how we have been complicating it. So now, let me go to the economy of legal professionalism. How does the fee issue, affects the legal profession? The violation of code of conduct on fiduciary matter is a serious problem in South Asia and across the world. Lawyers are often engaged in illegal affairs in matters of fees and dealing with clients. Owning easy fee by doing less work is the most favored choice of lawyers. Based on experiences in Nepal, the following issues need to be highlighted. One, lawyers are not only independent to fix their dealings of fee with clients, but they are totally immune from making unethical deal. Legal profession is the most expensive profession. 10 years before, a magazine from Germany published that Nepalese lawyers are the most expensive lawyer in the world. Okay? So even in a country like ours, the fee that we make, And what is very interesting is, I take the case and I charge 200,000 rupees per one appearance in the Supreme Court. And what I do is like, I send Dhurva to go and argue on behalf of me. Case is taken by me. He goes to the court, he argues. Whether he fails or makes, no problem. But then what is the fee? 200,000. Who went to the lawyer? Who went to the court? Dhurva. How much does he get? 10,000 probably. Even not. Maybe 5,000. But then 195 is taken by senior lawyers for doing no works. This is the situation. So it is here the legal profession so badly differs with the medical education. Because in medical education, in medical service, if a person comes from operation, a senior doctor cannot rely on the young doctor for the operation. So he takes the bigger money, but he operates the person himself. But here, what do? We get the bigger number, but we never operate the case. What we do is like we let the junior assistants to operate the case, but the money goes to the pocket of senior lawyer. But who is going to speak about it? I do it because I am not practicing. Nobody will speak about it because everybody is doing. Gentlemen who come and talk to you do the same. But they always talk high words in front of you. That's true that this morning somebody was talking about how, Ravi was talking about how expensive is the fee in India. Ram Jethmalani taking 1 crore for one case. Arun Jaitley in one case when I went to him for a case of one of a Nepalese man, I talked to him because I was the member of the Bar Association that time. I said that this man needs to hire you. And what he says is like, I will charge for one appearance in the High Court, and what I charge is like that 1.2 million, 12 lakhs. I asked like, probably how many appearances do you have to do in the High Court for this case? He said that maybe 6 or 7. So how much case? So what is difference between Ram Jethmalani and Arun Jaitley? And what Arun Jaitley today is a minister. And he always takes the good thing of India. But when he was a lawyer, was he thinking a good of India? So see, same situation in United States. In United States, number of lawyers are called chasing lawyer. Okay? Chasing lawyers means the moment accident happens, the first person, the first man or woman to arrive at the accident is not the police but the lawyer. The moment accident takes place, they start calculating and they start thinking of taking the case to the court, and then they start thinking how much commission probably from the compensation the victim is going to get should go to the lawyer. And the time that you go to the hospital, in the front desk, it's not the medical head, first aid service, hospital provides. The first desk belongs to lawyer. So the first thing what happens in the hospital is like the lawyer takes the details of the victim. And the time the person is taken inside the operation or for the autopsy or something, the family members already have been approached by a dozens of lawyers, and the bargaining starts. Okay, I will do it in 20%. Another says I will do it in 15%. So this is what. So that's one of the reasons like American lawyers have become subject to hatred by the American citizen. So the biggest number of the jokes in United States today written is about lawyers. So you can just go in YouTube and then you can type like jokes about American law. So there is a program in the television to tell about jokes about lawyers. Every week, 30 minutes, this program runs jokes about lawyers. This is what. So looking from that perspective, Nepal is a heaven. Nepal is a best place for the legal profession that we have to say. So what are the problems then is like unlimited freedom in determining the fee has made the legal profession a dreadful profession. People are afraid of lawyers. Unilateral, indirect, no consultation, no negotiation, no check, no monitoring, and no tax at all. Okay? This is therefore dreadful. big fee with less work is source of corruption. Some lawyers, instead of doing research and hard study on cases, are prone to develop illegal contacts with judges and court officers. I already told. Legal profession is an easy ladder to gain political power. So in Nepal, you become a lawyer, you become close to political parties, and then you become a minister. You again come to legal profession. The judges know that this is a powerful leader in some party. He already become a law minister. Next time maybe he will be something bigger power. Then what the judge will do is like, judge does everything to make him happy. Because next time when there is a promotion of the judge from district court to the high court, he knows that if I catch this man to influence the law minister, all the 2 members elected from the bar or appointed by the prime minister, these 3 people are the majority in Nepal's situation. The chief justice and the second justice, they are minority. If these 3 people come from the same party, suppose that the prime minister appointed the member, so a prime minister never picks up a good man or good lawyer who has not connections to his party. So he is a party man. If the bar is held by you, the same lawyers to the same party, then bar also sends the representative from the same political group. And the law minister definitely comes from the same party. These 3 people do exactly what they did a couple of months before in the High Court and the Supreme Court appointments. Okay? So, this is legal profession, therefore, is a ladder. You go to politics, you get the power, you get more position in the legal profession, and more position you get in the legal profession, and you further get the power. So this has become a ladder. This is interesting. Legal profession is easy ladder, therefore I said. Okay. So how legal professional ethics can be maintained? There are 2 wings. There are 2 philosophies. In America, after 1984, there was an intensive discussion. How can we improve the situation of legal profession? The Bar Association of America created a project. They started educating lawyers, they started educating people. So they found that to make a lawyer honest, the first change needs to be taken is not in the legal profession but in the legal education. So from onwards 1984, American legal education switched to the clinical legal education. There are 2 schools of thought emerged. Why lawyers were behaving in this way? Why lawyers were not behaving honestly? Why lawyers were becoming bad guys? Why lawyers were becoming the subject of so bad jokes? They came to the conclusion that this is a legal education. So what they thought is like, we have to reform the clinical legal education. We have to make the students behave properly when they are students. So what was the theory or the doctrine behind this belief was that if we habituate students to behave positively, honestly during legal education, by engaging them in the live cases, teaching them, okay, this is how you have to do. And if these people have been trained to behave in a way honestly and intellectually and positively by their attitude themselves, so going to the legal profession, they will not be committing themselves to do misconduct, was a belief. So one school of thought found that it was the failure of the clinical legal education program. The lawyers were behaving unethically. But then there was another school of thought. No, that's not only because of the failure of the clinical legal education program, but it is attitudes and broader the behavior of lawyers itself. So only change in the clinical legal education program does not make necessary change in the legal profession. So in the Western legal profession, Professor Robert Condelin and David Luban have argued in favor of activist moral epistemological teaching of legal ethics. So what they said is like, the one very important thing is that the students of law, when they are preparing themselves to become a lawyer, needs to be ethically trained. They need to go through the code of conduct of the legal profession. They should epistemologically understand how legal profession is functioning, and they should understand how it is doing good and how it is doing bad. Okay, so therefore they suggested that in the clinical legal education program, the ethic part of the study should be strongly stringent, was a suggestion. Robert Condolin emphasized the constructive role of clinical legal education. Okay, Robert Condolin especially emphasized the constructive role of clinical legal educations that we are doing here. So that's one of the reasons like that we are taking to you for the legal aid, mobile legal aid, going to the CDO office, going to the court, letting you expose how the court works, letting you expose yourselves to the jail and consider how people imprisoned in the jail think about it, and then sending you to the administrative institutions, to the village development committees, and also making you to talk to the people, how people think about it, and grasp all those things epistemologically, empirically, and develop your idea what kind of lawyer you want to be. So this was one. For him, the problem of growing unethical practice of law is an outcome of the failure of the clinical legal education to habituate students in the professional ethics. Professor Condolin contends that many clinical programs are moral failure because clinical educators teach students to manipulate and dominate others as a matter of habit. Sure, most legal educational institutions in America were condemned because most teachers were not teaching students how to habituate themselves to do good, but they were teaching them how to manipulate, how to speak hard, how to play role, and how to become a clever lawyer so that you could get cases from the very beginning. So they were trying to educate you not to go to the law firm, instead make yourself able to go to the court straight from the law school. Then all those tricks that you learn in the law firms, clinical legal educations were teaching you those tricks in the law school itself. So that's what he said. But David Luban disagreed, and what he said is like, it's not only a matter of skill, it's not a matter of question of habituating, but what he said is like, the problem of ethics is not related to clinical legal education per se, but rather with legal practice as a whole. According to him, the problem of legal ethics arises due to tension between Aristotelian and Kantian conception of ethics. The one unable to accept the anomalies of the role of morality, the other going about the business of transmitting the values of practice without stepping outside its own skin to judge them. Okay, so it was a debate. What he says is like Aristotle and Kantian controversy. What Aristotle emphasizes like you should become moral to become a legal professional. First, you should learn morality. But then, what Kantian perspective said was like, since you have not been able to transmit the values in the system, therefore it's not a question of morality, but you're not getting the values of justice inside the system. So one emphasized how to bring the justice values inside the legal profession, another emphasized how to make the lawyers more moral. So David Luban emphasized in the perspective of the virtues of lawyers, whereas Robert Condolin emphasized on better clinical education. So this is how this issue became very intensive debate. So in conclusion, what is my conclusion? Is that the legal education in SARC reason suffers from my reads a problem associated with goals, contents, methods, and approaches. Our methodology is wrong, our approach is wrong, okay? Our skill of teaching is wrong, everything is wrong. So some law schools in Kathmandu, they have been competing to get more numbers for the students. So what they do? They give 49 in 50 numbers, 50 full marks, practical exam. So what the student will think about? Yes, he is interested to get 49. He knows that if I make a little hard voice to the teacher, they will send 49 to the university. And what do you say? Some students without doing practical education gets 49, but then why should we do? Why should you do this 10 days intensive course? You never ask a question. What question you never ask? You never ask how to make that college to undergo the same process that you are going and make them able. But what demand you make? Because he is getting 49, she is getting 49 without efforts, therefore we should also get 49 without efforts. Okay, that's what you have been demanding. So therefore, the education system is very poor. So there are some problem in education. Why legal profession have become so unethical? One, development of the knowledge and skill of formalist interpretation of legal rules has been taken as the key goal of education. How do we try to prepare in Nepal and India is like, we do not want to make you inventive, innovative, and constructive, but what you teach is like, we teach you is like, this is how the legal provision is interpreted. Okay, so we try to make you centralist, legalist lawyer. That means you never consider social context, you never consider epistemological problem in the society, you never consider episteme of the society, but you always try to use the rule in a mechanical way. So most legal education in South Asia teach students not to be a social engineer, but to become a parrot. Okay, parrot. So we emphasize the judgment made by the judges. And what we say to you is like, the judgment made by the judge is the most important authority. So pick it up and use it and go to the court, argue using the judgment of the court. So this is how we emphasize you to use a priori, something which is already established should guide the present also. The past should always guide the present. But what is reality is like, when you observe outside in the society, you see the phenomenon, you see what is happening, you see what is injustice, okay? How the microbus is driving, why traffic rule is not followed, why you go to pay the tax, you have to pay the bribe, why leaders are doing all this kind of thing, why they are playing with the life of the people. All these things are not a matter of concern. If you take these issues to the court, and I think you may rather interpret the law in a better way. But what you do is like, you always pick the judge's previous judgment and you go to the court with the help of that judgment. So this is how we are trying to change our legal education system. We are not emphasizing those kind of things. We're emphasizing you to observe and try to learn by yourself. Second, as indicated above, the legal profession is most privatized profession in the region now. If something which is so privatized is the legal profession, because you determine your fee by yourself, okay? You fix the fee by yourself, you do not pay the tax. So every other profession has some control of the government, but this is your profession where there is no control of the government at all. So therefore, you are like a Pashupati Sari. Third, in the traditional paradigm of pedagogy, the emphasis has been put on law as a process of dispute settlement. Sure, all the time the definition of law is that law is a command of sovereign or something like that. So law is taken as a means of dispute settlement. Okay, law is not a means of changing the society, creating the habit of the people, creating a new system in the society, and make better society for better people. Fourth, equally important problem of the legal education in the region is emphasis on nation-centric approach. We always state what Nepalese law says. Okay, if you go to India, they never consider what is law in Nepal, what is law in Bangladesh, what is law in other country. They immediately start talking Goloknath and something like that. Okay, so they never talk about legal system of other countries. Comparatively, we are doing better. We know what is Indian constitution. We know what is Bangladesh constitution. But most Indian students ask that, is there any constitution in Nepal? So this is a kind of thing. So I often say that Nepalese students are very brilliant than Indian students because they are very nation-centric. We are more region-centric. There are a number of factors responsible for obstructing the SAARC becoming a community. Over the last decade, SAARC saw a number of unwanted events. India suffered from number of terrorist interventions. Sri Lanka continued to suffer from the bloody ethnic conflict. Pakistan returned to military rule, and Nepal underwent a terrible bloodshed. All these kind of things we underwent. But the SARC was not concerned with all these kind of things. So though we say SARC, we are a region, but we are not a community. What we are is just a SARC, and this SARC, whether it is an office, but it does nothing to the South Asian people. Therefore, there is nothing which is called South Asian legal system. There is nothing which is called South Asian legal profession. There is nothing which is called South Asian legal system or anything. Therefore, we have been failing. So, there are some suggestions. How can we improve? In my opinion, building capacity of the South Asian nations by improving their quality of life, by improving the condition of legal and justice system. The most important thing that we have to do is to improve the condition of our legal system and the judicial system. Very interestingly, what is the situations of South Asian criminal justice system and civil justice system? Interestingly is that if you see the report of India, if you see the National Human Rights Commission's report and some other commission's report, India right now has 30 million pending cases. 30 million pending cases. If they have 5,000 new judges appointed, it takes 7 years to complete the pending. So there is no chance of India having additional 5,000 judges. So that means these 30 million pending cases keep going for a long time. So somebody is fighting a case. So there was an interesting case, I was told last year. The grandfather initiated the case. His life, he went through the case. His son took over it, and now the man, the son of the old man who initiated the case died, and his son is still carrying on the case, but still there is no decision. 3 generations. 76,000 people in 2012. 76,000 people were released from the jail, from different jails from India, because they already crossed 12 years without trial. So they were in jail without trial for 12 years. So it was useless, and it was unjust to put people in jail without trial, even for 12 years. So there was a mass release of the people by the government, and these people still are not having trial. Their cases is still on pending. What is the situation of the success rate of the prosecution in South Asia? In India, felonies, the hard cases like murder, rape and other, it is 27%. 100 case taken to the court, only 27% case goes in favor of the prosecution, but rest of the people have been released by the district court. What is the situation in Pakistan? This is 7%. If 100 cases have been taken to the trial court, only 7 cases goes to the favor of the prosecution, rest of the people have been released. In Bangladesh, it is 10%. Yes, most people are released by the court, but then in how many years? These so-called innocent who are declared as innocent by the court, but they spend 10 years already in the jail. So this is a situation of justice. But unfortunately, none of these countries have been talking about justice education. Only we are talking about legal education. We are not taking impact, we are not talking about impact of the legal system that is casting on our society. So one very important thing is like, nothing can be changed until and unless we change the paradigm of legal education into justice education. So that's why what I'm doing in a new law schools that I'm creating now under Mid-Eastern University is like, that would not be a school of law, that would be a school of justice. Okay? Mid-Eastern School of Justice. And everything taught over there will be the justice. Interpretation of the court's judgments and critical opinion of the students, like whether their judgment of the judge was just or unjust. So this is one. Okay? So this is one. I think you have to gear up going to that direction. So for the introduction of the justice education program, We introduced in our course in Purvanchal for the, something called Advanced Jurisprudence in 4th year. So that assimilates 3 things. One, students' investigations of legal problems in the community, and after observation of this problem in the community, very problematic community, then theorizing those problems into legal principle. That means principle of justice. And then write thesis on that and also conduct lecture. But this is what we have been thinking is becoming a miserable and hopeless situation. So that's how this year, such a miserable failure that I had to say that I'm not going to teach in 4th year and 5th year also. So this batch I'm not going to teach. Because their attitude is so arrogant, their attitude is so demanding, they think that they are the most important people of the world, they think that they are the best people of the world, they are the most powerful people of the world, they think that they should not do anything. So that is attitude of them. We are not teaching them. Personally, maybe some of them are very smiling boys and girls, fine. But their attitude is so worse. And I have declared that if some batch in Kathmandu School of Law, which is not going to make any progress and will not be identified in the Nepalese society, is this 4th year. None of them will become a good person. None of them will be known in future of Nepal as a legal professional. It's not because they are incompetent students. It is because their attitude, and at least 25% of you are also same. 75% we say you are good, but 25% also I already see in yourself. You know who is that. Try to improve you. So question of justice education. Second, modernization and rationalization of the legal education in the region so that it can competently address the contemporary needs. Course needs to reflect the contemporary problems. We should not be teaching the course that was prepared 15 years before. So let's see. We made the course in Purvanchal University in 1999. And what was that period? That was a time of booming democratic practice in Nepal, but already entering into conflict. So we were in dilemma. On the one hand, democratic system was doing good. On the other hand, there were already mounting bloodshed in different parts of the country. So we were affected by that development that time. Economic development, social transformation. There were a lot of demands, very strong women movement, very strong Madhesi movement, very strong Tharu movement, Janajatis. A lot of people were demanding their rights, a kind of movement for their identification in the society. Okay, so we reflected that in our course. But in 10 years, Nepal went through a very bad time. So when we changed that course in 2010, okay, 2011, Nepali society already has come again to the peace process. Nepali democracy was a kind of compromise between the rebellion force and the democratic force. We already were in a process of transforming into a republic system. So a lot of things were there. So the course was changed accordingly. So we are waiting for another 4 years because we change course every 10 years. So there are a lot of already problems which need to be reflected. But there are some rooms in the course. So what did we do is like we kept almost 700 practical course so that the colleges could decide what kind of issues to be picked up and therefore rationalize the course that you have. So that's why every year we change the street law program. Every year we change the second year's mock trial, mock parliament process. Every year we change the legal mobile aid program, and in the 4th year the outreach program, and in the 5th year the professional development course. That's how we have limited access to rationalize the legal educations to the contemporary needs. But that facility is not available for other universities. Integration of the laws and justice system, integration of the legal education with development studies, therefore a lot of discussion about OB, OR, trade deficit kind of situation, economic and law, and all this kind of thing. So that's the reason. Okay? So it was hopeless. Like after that presentation, few days before, when Mizanur made a presentation to you, there was not a single question. Because you are not interested. Adoption of modern scientific de-insulated approach. De-insulate and introduce scientific process of teaching. Therefore, we are talking much more forensic laboratory. We're talking about cyber law. We're talking about all this kind of thing. Because the world is becoming more sweeter than in the past. So we are therefore asking you to use your 60,000 mobile, to use for the dictionary, to use for the internet, to use for uploading good information. Okay? But these 60,000 mobile phones are being used for three purposes. In the college, for the message and sometime download. On the going home, for the message and telephone. When you locked up your room to see the blue films, both boys and girls. Okay? You see these kind of things. I have interviewed a lot of people. I should not come to interview you. Sometimes I do this kind of research. God asks you the question, and some of my spies bring information to you. Stop doing it. Use your machine for your development. One machine is enough for you. So that's one of the reasons I always love to teach in China. When I teach something, 50 students immediately download what I have been saying. When I say the Nepalese constitution, they immediately download the Nepalese constitution. They read the provision and they ask the question. If you do that, we will not prohibit you to use that, but you never do it. Sometimes even you dare to pass a message like this in the classroom. So therefore we become very angry. So when I was this time in China, a lot of students were informally discussing with me, and they asked me three things. When you become really happy when you are teaching? My answer was that when students do not look like a dead body, they are smiling and they are nodding their head and they are taking knowledge and they are ready to answer the question. And when I am making a presentation, sometimes hurriedly taking note. Oh, so my important thing, he said, taking the note, then I become very happy. When you become so lazy to make presentation in the class, when some people who sleeps sit in the front row, I become very lazy. Okay? And they ask me, what you had in the classroom? And I said, in one word, I can say that I had to teach students like you. She is making gestures to that side, she is smiling, she is doing like this. Diksha, Shakota, this side. And then one lady smiles to her. What nonsense you are doing? The mid lady, Rabi's friend, right there, she is smiling all the time. Okay? Now I have a question for you. I have a question for you. Yes. How many problems did I say with regard to legal education in South Asia? Sit down. Your future of being lawyer is very, very low. Diksha, can you tell me how many problems of legal education in South Asia? Sit down. Ask your father to find out a very good boy for you. This is a challenge for all of you. If you do not change your situations from there, one day you will end up becoming my very popular phrase, becoming a father and becoming a mother. So that's why I am trying to change this law school to go to another law school, so that I can groom a new type of students. So as many people say that Kathmandu School of Law one day will make an example in the outside, I don't believe it. I don't believe it in mass. Yes, 5-6 students, probably they can make a change. So don't be angry with this. This is, I'm not saying to me. If you do not change your attitudes of becoming a good person, becoming a good lawyer, your fate is going to be ended in a very fateful day. Okay, but this can be changed. So I like one very important character, the word in China. What it says is that the misfortune starts with fortune, and the fortune starts with misfortune. The same misfortune the same pet problem is a prospect for your development. But that pleasure today you are enjoying is the symptom of your misfortune in the future. So the luxury that you have been enjoying today is an indication of your bad life in the days to come. Those who think that this is very hard to do it, there is a hardship to law. This hardship, if you think a hardship, then that is where is your prospect starts. Should take it very seriously. If you have a question, I will be happy to answer, but I know that there will not be any question. Any question?
And we'll have to return each and every plastic to the school. We have taken it from school and it return गर्नुपर्छ 5th day मा, त्यसैले हराउन पाउँदैन तपाईहरुले त्यो। दोस्रो कुरा के छ भन्दाखेरि आज हामीले जति पनि कुरा अध्ययन गर्यौं त्यो कुराहरुलाई स्लाइड्सहरु चाहिँ तपाईलाई आज राति नै फरवर्ड गरिन्छ र सकभर युवा सरले पनि त्यो तल राखिदिनु हुन्छ होला र त्यसलाई फोटोकपी गरेर लग्नु होला, त्यसलाई आफ्नो रिपोर्टमा समावेश गर्नु होला। हामी वर्कसप भनिरहेको छौं, त्यो वर्कसप के हो भन्दाखेरि हाम्रो जुन रिपोर्ट आउँदैछ, यो 6 वटा रिपोर्ट आउँदैछ, त्यो एकदमै स्ट्रङ हुनुपर्छ। त्यसमा हामीले लगभग सबै कुरा इन्कर्पोरेट गर्नुपर्छ। त्यसकारणले नै हामीले प्रेजेन्टेसनलाई 5th डेमा राखेका छौं र 5th डेमा फेरि पनि हामी धेरै डिग्निटरीजहरुलाई इन्भाइट गरेर उहाँहरुको अगाडि प्रेजेन्टेसन गर्नेछौं। त्यसकारणले आफ्नो रिपोर्टलाई स्ट्रङ बनाउनु होला र विश्वमणि सर लगायतका एथिक्स डिपार्टमेन्टमा जति पनि गुरुवर्गहरु हुन्छ उहाँलाई हामी के रिक्वेस्ट गर्छौं भने एउटा जुन यो कोड अफ कन्डक्ट बनाउने कुरा छ, यो 6 वटै ग्रुपले बनाउन स्टार्ट गर्ने हो कि भन्ने कुरा छ, त्यसलाई कम्पिटिटिभ मोडलमै लग्ने हो कि भन्ने एउटा कुरा पनि हामी उठाउन चाहन्छौं। अब हामी लगभग आजको प्रोग्रामको एन्डमा आइसकेका छौं। भोलिदेखि वर्कसपहरु पनि हुन्छ। एउटा 1 आवरको वर्कसप गीता म्यामले भोलि गराउनुहुन्छ। भोलि हाम्रो यो स्केड्युल चाहिँ आज साँझ फरवर्ड पनि गरिन्छ तपाईहरुलाई र नोटिस बोर्डमा पनि टालिएको अवस्था छ। सो इफ यु हेभ एनी कन्फ्युजन यु क्यान रेफर दैट अल्सो। र केही कमी कमजोरी हाम्रो पार्टबाट भएको छ भने त्यो हामीलाई भन्नु होला। त्यसमा चाहिँ केही लाइक सिधै हामीलाई भन्नु होला, हामी सकभर त्यसलाई राम्रो पार्ने प्रयास गर्नेछौं। र यति भन्दै आजको फर्स्ट डे हामी यही एन्ड गर्दैछौं। धन्यवाद। भोलि चाहिँ 8:50 सम्ममा पुग्नु होला भन्ने अनुरोध छ। आज 9 बजेपछि पनि धेरै मान्छे आइराख्नु भएको थियो। त्यो चाहिँ रेकर्ड भइरहेको अवस्था छ। त्यो चाहिँ तपाईहरुलाई थाहा छ कि छैन हैन। जति मान्छे 9 बजेपछि आउनु भयो त्यो रेकर्ड भइरहेको थियो। अब त्यस्तो नगर्नु होला भन्ने नै आग्रह, त्यो भन्दा बढी त भन्न केही सकिन्छ। धन्यवाद।